And welcome to Technology Tap. I'm Professor J. Rod. On today's episode, we're gonna do CompTIA A+ questions again. This is a very popular one. Also, follow me on TikTok. I'm on TikTok now, guys, at Professor J. Rod, J-R-O-D, at Professor J. Rod on TikTok. Let's get to it. All right. How's everybody? Hope everybody had a great Thanksgiving. And now we're still in the silly season, but we're moving over closer to Christmas and then New Year's, which means the semester's ending soon. So for your students out there, I know it's a struggle. The semester's almost there. Let's push it for the last couple of weeks. All right, some housekeeping. So on a recommendation, speaking of students, on a recommendation of a couple of my students, I am now on TikTok. I'm on TikTok at Professor J Rod. That's J-R-O-D, like the baseball player, except it's a J instead of an A. Please follow me there because I want to be able to get 1,000 followers. So then that way I can go live and do these type of question answers online on TikTok. So for those of you who do not know me, my name is Professor J Rod. I'm a college professor in the New York State area, and I do these podcasts based on the CompTIA series of exams, A+, Network Plus, Security Plus. Every now and then we'll dabble into Cloud Plus and CYSA Plus. And as I, get further along, I may be, doing Pen Plus and the like. But again, I got to know how I'm doing with the fans. If the demand is great, I'll do it. I'll do anything for my listeners. So if there's a particular topic you want to go up to, you want to get into, send me an email at professorjrod@gmail.com. That's Professor J-R-O-D at gmail.com. As I was saying before about TikTok, if I get 1,000 followers on TikTok, they will let me go live. So, and if I go live, I can do these question and answers. I could, we'll do a couple, 1 or 2 a week, maybe 3 a week, depending how it goes, right? It's up to you guys. You guys have to, follow me at Professor J Rod on TikTok. So if you were able to do that and we get our views up and our followers up, I'll do a live. I did a little soundbite on the CompTIA, a little soundbite on one of the episodes that I did on TikTok, and it quickly went to 1,700 views, which I was amazed. So listen, the demand is there. Just make sure that you hit that like and follow me on TikTok, and I'll be more than happy to do live question and answer sessions, to help you with the exam. I mean, I'm more than happy to do that with you guys. But the demand has to be there, and it has to be a reason for me to do it. So you got to email me or follow me on TikTok. Listen, I'm not on this platform to make $1 million, right? I know I'm not going to be a millionaire on this thing, but there are some expenses that I incur from here that if I can get it covered, it would be nice. So, like I said, it's not about the money. I like to help my students, but it'd be nice if some of these expenses, get covered by, not by you, but just by doing other stuff, by going on social media and let the commercials pay, right? The advertisers pay. All right. Now that we got that out of the way, let's go on to CompTIA questions. These are 1101 questions that I've seen on the internet, and we can go over it. All right. So the format is I'll read the question and the answers. I'll read it again, and then we'll go over it. All right. First question is: a technician powers on a PC and its monitor, and sees the following error message: no input signal detected. The display lights on the computer are on. Which of the following is a possible solution? A, change the BIOS settings. B, changing the connector settings of the monitor. C, checking the power plug on the monitor. And D, checking the power plug on the PC. So, I'll read it again. A technician powers on a PC and its monitor and sees the following error messages. No input, no error message. No input signal detected. Right, that's the message. The display lights on the computer are on. Which of the following is a possible solution? A, changing the BIOS settings. B, changing the connector settings on the monitor. C, checking the power plug on the monitor. And D, checking the power plug on the PC. So, and this is what I don't like about CompTIA. Sometimes, I mean, it's not really that far, but it is what it is. I always emphasize about the OSI model, right? That, first thing that you want to do is do a level 1, which is physical layer, right? And in the physical layer, one of the first things that it's in the physical layer is check your cables, right? But in this case, even though they have C and D checking the power plug on the monitor and D checking the power plug on the PC, I think the reason why CompTIA put both of these as possible answers, because if they just put one, that's the one that the people are going to go to, right? So they put both of these for a reason, right? Now, no input signal device, but the display lights on the computer are on, which means you don't need to check the power plug on the monitor because the monitor turns on. And also, you don't need to check the power plug on the PC because the PC is on. So you're left with A, changing the BIOS setting, or B, changing the connector setting on the monitor. So the answer is what, ladies and gentlemen? The answer is B. The answer is B. A is incorrect because the BIOS cannot be seen as an input. Cannot be. It won't give you the error. No input signal detected if it was BIOS, right? Checking the power plug. While that could be a solution, the problem states that the technician has already powered on already, and also with the PC. So the correct answer is B, since both the PC and the monitor are on, using the monitor settings to verify it has the right input is the way to go. All right, question 2. A company just bought a printer capable of automatically printing on both sides of the paper. However, after installation, the technician can only print on both sides of the page manually. Which of the following should the technician do to fix the issue? A, install the most recent firmware upgrade available for the printer. B, contact the vendor for hardware replacement. C, reinstall the printer software and drivers and then restart the printer. Or D, read the installation manual and configure duplex settings. I'll read it again. A company just bought a printer capable of automatically printing on both sides of the paper. After installation, however, the technician can only print on both sides of the paper manually. Which of the following should the technician do to fix this? A, install the most recent firmware upgrade available for the printer. B, contact the vendor for hardware replacement. C, reinstall the printer software and drivers, and then restart the printer. Or D, read the installation manual and configure duplex settings. There's a big clue here. 2 big clues is bought a printer and after installation. Right? So he had just bought it and he's just installing it. Right? So that would get which one you can knock out of there. Well, you could knock out contact the vendor for a hardware replacement. Right? You can knock that out. A, C, and D, any one of them, it's a good one. But the firmware upgrade would not do anything for the printer. Right? So you can eliminate that, and then you're left with reinstall the printer software on the drivers and then restart the printer. Or read the installation manual and configure duplex settings. Since he just bought the printer and he is installing it right then and there, the answer is D. Read the installation manual and configure duplex settings. That is your answer. Hopefully you got it. All right, next question. A laptop has been returned for a screen repair. The owner insists that the screen is broken, but occasionally a faded image is able to be seen in very bright settings on the desktop. Which of the following steps should the repair technician take first? A. Replace the graphics card. B. Replace the screen as the customer insists. C. Recommend the usage of an external display instead. And D. Ensure that the backlight is functioning as expected. I'll read it again. A laptop has been returned for a screen repair. The owner insists that the screen is broken, but occasionally a faded image is able to be seen in very bright settings on the desktop. Which of the following steps should the repair technician take first? Replace the graphic card, replace the screen as the customer insisted, recommend the usage of an external display instead, or ensure the backlight is functioning as expected. Well, when it first is the clue here, right? And I always tell my students, it may not be the answer, right? It may not be the fix for it. What you try first, right? But you always want to, so you want to try something first, and that might not be the answer. But out of all of whatever the situation is, right? You want to try. There's one of them. There's a pecking order where you should try. So, for example, if you're having something issue with the battery on your laptop, you're not going to take the RAM, the hard drive, the CD out of the laptop. That's not going to be the first thing you try. That might be the problem, right? With the laptop, if it doesn't turn on, maybe the RAM, maybe the hard drive, maybe something's loose. That might be the problem. But that's not the first thing you want to try, right? In that scenario, you would take out the battery, right? You see the battery, turn it back on. That'll be the first thing you do. So just because you may choose one answer, it may not be the right answer for the fix, but it's the right answer for CompTIA. I hope that makes sense. All right. So replace the graphics card, replace the screen as the customer insists. Recommend the use of an external display instead, and ensure that the backlight is functioning as expected. There is a clue in the question where it says a faded image is able to be seen in very bright settings on the desktop, which means you don't need to replace a graphic card or the screen, right? The answer is D. Ensure the backlight is functioning as expected. You need to check that out. You need to ensure the backlight is functioning as expected. The technician should first check the backlight, as the fact that a faded image can be seen in bright settings suggests that the issue may be with the backlight and not the screen itself. If the backlight is not functioning as expected, the technician can then proceed with repairing or replacing it. If the backlight is functioning correctly, then the technician can move on to other possible causes of the issue. Right. So the backlight might not be the issue, but that's the one you want to start, right, before you go to any other possible solution. All right, next. A technician replaced a motherboard on a server, and now the 64-bit hypervisor is not loading correctly. Which of the following needs to be enabled for the hypervisor to run? A. Hardware prefetcher. B. Hyperthreading. C. vPro. D. BD-D. I'll read it again. A technician replaced a motherboard on a server, and now the 64-bit hypervisor is not loading correctly. Which of the following needs to be enabled for the hypervisor to run? A. Hardware prefetcher. B. Hyperthreading. C. vPro. D. BD-D. What do you think the answer is, ladies and gentlemen? The answer is D. BD-D, which stands for virtualization technology for directed I/O. That needs to be enabled for the hypervisor to run. BT-D is a hardware level technology that enables the direct assignment of physical devices to virtual machines. This allows for improved security and isolation of the virtual environment, which is critical for running a hypervisor. If VD-D is not enabled, the hypervisor may not be able to access the physical hardware resources it needs, causing issues with loading and running correctly. So for that one, the answer is D. All right, next one. This one's a little easy. This one you should get it. User's mobile phone gets really hot to the touch and does not retain a charge. The user also reports that the phone is very slow, especially while charging. Which of the following is most likely causing these symptoms? A. Broken charging port. B. Digitizer failure. C. CPU overheating. And D. Defective battery. I'll read it again. A user's mobile phone gets really hot to the touch and does not retain a charge. The user also reports that the phone is very slow, especially while charging. Which of the following is most likely causing these symptoms? A. Broken charging port. D. Digitizer failure. C. CPU heating. And D. Defecting battery. So the reason why I picked this question, ladies and gentlemen, because it has one word that you always have to remember in CompTIA. And that's the word and. Right? The word and, when you see that in CompTIA, or a comma, right? It has two conditions that the answer must meet. The answer must meet both conditions. So here is a user's mobile phone gets really hot to the touch and it does not retain a charge. Right? And then the other issue is also reports that the phone is very slow, especially while charging. So in here you actually have three conditions, which is, for a one question, usually they choose two when they have a couple of issues. But we can work with this, right? Let's see. So a broken charging port would not get it. It might do some of these things, right? Broken charging port does not retain the charge, right? It could do that. And the reports that the phone is slow while charging, but a broken charging port is not gonna get the phone hot. So that's out. Digitizer failure is not gonna do any of these. So that's out. CPU overheating, and you have the defective battery. All right. What do you think the answer is, ladies and gentlemen? Those are the two choices. Right? What do you think it is? You got it? All right. The answer is D. A defective battery is most likely the cause of the symptoms described for the user's mobile phone: getting really hot to the touch, not retaining a charge, and being very slow, especially while charging. A defective battery may not hold the charge properly, leading to the phone running out of power quickly and the need for frequent charging. The defective battery may also cause the phone to overheat, especially while charging, as the battery attempts to charge but fails to hold the charge, resulting in the battery continuing to draw power and generating heat. A broken charging port or digitizer failure will not cause the phone to get hot or affect the battery's ability to hold the charge. CPU overheating may cause the phone to get hot, but it's less likely to affect the battery's ability to hold the charge. Right? CPU and battery are two different things. So the answer is D. All right, next one. This is the one that some students of mine, they usually have a little bit of an issue with. So let's go through it. Which of the following network devices is used to separate broadcast domains? A. Switch. B. Wireless access point. C. Router. D. Hub. Again, I read it again. Which of the following network devices is used to separate broadcast domains? A. Switch. B. Wireless access point. C. Router. D. Hub. What do you think the answer is? What do you think? What do you think? And the answer is C. Router. Right? A router is used to separate broadcast domains. A router operates at the layer 3 of the OSI model, which is the network layer, and acts as a boundary between different networks. Uses routing tables to determine the best path for data to travel from one network to another. Routers also allow the use of NAT, network address table, or translation, to translate private IP addresses to public IP addresses, allowing multiple devices on a private network to access the internet using a single public IP. Additionally, routers are used to separate broadcast domains, which means that broadcasts sent by one device on the network are not forwarded to other devices on the same network. They go on a different network, effectively limiting the size of the broadcast domain and reducing congestion. So the answer is C, router. All right, that was a good one. All right, here is a printing question, which is CompTIA It is very and this is actually the last question. CompTIA likes to give you uh, laser printer questions, right? Laser printer questions are out of all the four. They have duplex. They have different kind of printers. Ooh, I can't. Impact printer, uh, laser printer, uh, 3Ds. They're 3Ds now. What do you call those? Those ones, those hot ones. Oof, I'm drawing a blank. It's embarrassing. But there's a couple that we have there. So this is good. All right. So just remember, but laser is number one, right? Laser is the one that you have to be uh, most focused mostly on. Uh, so it'll be good if you concentrate. If you're going to concentrate on printers, concentrate on that, on laser and how they print. What could go wrong, different. If you're missing a toner, if a toner, what happens if the roller stops working, what happens, if your corona wire stops working, if your transfer wire stops working, those stuff like that. They want to know. They're very heavy on that for laser printers. All right, last question. A user in a medical office contacts a technician regarding a printer that's used to print A4 size labels. After the labels are printed, they mistakenly contained a white space in the middle of the page. Which of the following will most likely be the cause? A. Contaminated fuser. B. Worn rollers. C. A misfeed. Or D. Page orientation. I'll read it again. A user in a medical office contacts a technician regarding a printer that is used to print an A4 size labels. After the labels are printed, they mistakenly contain white space in the middle of the page. Which of the following will most likely be the cause? A. Contaminated fuser. B. Worn rollers. C. A misfeed. And D. Page orientation. So one of the things that they do here is like sometimes they give you information that's useless, right? And I call that the MacGuffin. That's something that they use in movies, right? Where they give you kind of like too much information or information that's useless. Like a user in the medical office, right? Ignore that, right? That doesn't mean anything, right? Just because he's in the medical office, that doesn't it's not anything special. And sometimes CompTIA will throw those in, thinking that you would say, "Wow, it's a medical office. I gotta think, a different way." You don't, right? It's just medical office, lawyer's office. It's the same thing. It's an office, right? So don't make too much of a big deal about uh, that it's a medical office. So, um, all right. So, what do you think it is? Right? What do you think it is? So, you think it's contaminated rollers, worn rollers? Sorry, contaminated fuser, worn rollers, a misfeed page, or a page orientation? Well, a misfeed is a misfeed, right? That means, it's jamming, right? So we're not gonna worry about that, right? That's out, automatically out, because a misfeed is a misfeed. Worn rollers will do what to it, to your printer? If your rollers are worn, that actually will cause your paper to jam, hence a misfeed, right? So you're left with page orientation and contaminated fuser. So and remember, it has a white space in the middle, right? The most likely cause of labels printed with white space in the middle page D, in the middle of the page is D, page orientation. A contaminated fuser might cause issues with the quality of the print or leading to smudge, but it's unlikely to result in white space in the middle of the page. Worn rollers can cause paper feed issues or paper jams, but they usually don't result in white space in the middle of the page. A misfeed can cause the paper to be improperly fed through the paper, leading to print issues, but it's not the primary cause of the white space in the middle of the page. If the page orientation settings in the printer driver or software are not correctly configured to match the label size A4, it can lead to white space in the middle of the page. For example, if the software is set to print labels in portrait mode, while the labels are designed for landscaping printing, you may see white space in the middle of the page because the printer is expecting a different layout. Right? And this, ladies and gentlemen, is how you tackle these types of questions on CompTIA. Now, I just want to remind everyone that please, I hope you enjoyed the questions, right? We're in the questions. And if you got them all right, you're on your way, right, for passing the 1101. If you struggled a little bit, hey, this is what we're here for, to practice, right? As I tell my students, let's make our mistakes here. So when we pay for our exams, we don't make the mistakes there. So we can make all the mistakes that we want here. And I encourage mistakes. Even I make mistakes. You know, I'm not perfect. These podcasts are definitely not perfect. But, you know, we are trying very hard to improve it. So, as a reminder again, please follow me on TikTok at Professor J-Rod. That's ProfessorJrod. If I get 1,000 followers, according to several students of mine, I will be able to broadcast live. And I would like to broadcast live these questions so that we can go over. It'll be nice. Will be something nice that I would like to do for you guys. And we can do, you know, A+, Network Plus, Security Plus, right? It's all up to you. And, you know, I'll send out time and date and all that we can do it. You know, I won't forget my European fans out there. We can do it. Also, you can chime in. Would love to do this for you guys, a new form of media. I'll still do the podcasting, of course, but I would love to see you guys on TikTok as well. Don't know how to use it, but, you know, we'll learn. I guess you guys will teach me. Right? So hopefully, again, find me at ProfessorJrod@gmail.com. If you want to email me, and I'll be on TikTok, Professor J-Rod, J-R-O-D. All right, that's going to put a wrap on it today. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you for your support, and we'll see you next time. This has been a presentation of the Chacha Productions by Sarah, music by Joe Kim. If you want to get in contact with me, email me at ProfessorJrod@gmail.com. I'm on Instagram at Professor J-Rod, and I'm on TikTok at Professor J-Rod.